Welcome to the Rich Idea Library. Today, we're looking at a really powerful vision from Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek. It really challenges how most of us think about work, success, freedom, the whole package, really. You know, for so many people, the standard path, school, job, work hard, save up for retirement, way down the line. It often leads to this sort of quiet, low-level dissatisfaction, like something's missing.
Exactly. That's precisely the feeling the book taps into.
Yeah.
That yearning for something more than just climbing the traditional career ladder. It introduces this concept of the new rich.
The new rich, right.
Which isn't about being traditionally wealthy, but about having real freedom, time freedom, location freedom, basically detaching your income from the hours you put in or where you physically are.
Okay, that's a big idea. So let's unpack that. How does the book suggest we actually, get there?
A core idea seems to be that, outside of hard science or law, most rules about work and life, they can be bent. Yeah, and it's fascinating how Ferriss points this out. He gives examples like, think about Yvon Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia.
Oh yeah, great example.
Built this massive, multi-billion-dollar company basically by ignoring conventional business rules. He prioritized the environment, employee adventures, things that traditional businesses might see as, inefficient.
Definitely not the standard playbook.
Not at all. It just shows you can create a different kind of success.
Okay, so bending the rules sounds great, very liberating, but I imagine for most people listening, the really big hurdle is just fear. Fear of the unknown, stepping off that predictable path. It sounds terrifying. How does the book suggest we tackle that specific mental block?
Well, Ferriss actually faced this exact thing himself, which makes it quite relatable.
He did?
Yeah. He was trapped working something like 15-hour days, completely burnt out, and he had this radical idea.
Yeah.
What if I just took a year off? Went to Europe.
Wow, okay.
But the crucial part wasn't just dreaming. He sat down and did what he calls fear setting. He meticulously listed every single worst-case scenario he could imagine. What if the business fails? What if I run out of money? All those catastrophic thoughts.
Right, the things that keep you up at night.
Exactly. And then, importantly, he brainstormed concrete, actionable solutions for each potential disaster. How would he survive? What could he do? And he realized, the reality wasn't nearly as dire as the fear felt.
So facing it head on actually lessened its power.
Precisely. He realized he could probably manage even the worst outcomes.
Yeah.
So he took the trip. It ended up stretching to 15 months, actually. And the amazing part, his business didn't just survive while he was gone, it actually thrived.
That's incredible. 15 months, and it grew.
Yep. It really challenges that idea that you have to be constantly present. It makes you wonder, have you ever really sat down and mapped out your fears like that? And brainstormed real solutions.
That's a powerful exercise. Okay, so overcoming fear is step one. But another trap the book talks about is how we view time itself. We tend to think being busy means being productive, right? But Ferriss argues that often just keeps us spinning our wheels, not making real progress.
Productivity isn't just busyness, it's effectiveness. Doing the right things.
So how do we get effective?
This is where he brings in a couple of really fundamental ideas. First, the 80-20 principle, Pareto's law, the idea that roughly 20% of your activities generate 80% of your results.
Right, focus on the vital few.
Exactly, and combine that with Parkinson's law.
Which is?
That work expands to fill the time you give it. If you give yourself a week for a task that could take a day, it'll probably take the week.
Guilty as charged. I think we all do that sometimes.
Me too. So the key is conscious elimination.
Yeah.
Cut out the fluff, the low-impact tasks, and protect your focus. There was actually a study, I think University of California, Irvine, found it takes over 23 minutes to properly get back into a task after you've been interrupted.
23 minutes. Wow, just from a quick interruption.
Yep. Think about that quick email check or notification ping.
That's almost half an hour lost, just regaining focus. Okay, that puts distractions in a whole new light. So eliminate. Focus on the 20%. What comes next? The book pushes something pretty radical for traditional work. Outsourcing. Calls it the lifeblood of the new rich.
Yes, outsourcing. Especially using remote virtual assistants, or VAs, often from developing countries. The benefits are pretty clear. Significant cost savings, sure, but also increased efficiency and access to skills you might not have.
Can you give an example of how that works practically?
Imagine this. Before you go to bed, you send clear, detailed instructions for a task, maybe research, maybe creating a presentation draft to your VA. You wake up the next morning and boom, it's sitting in your inbox. Done.
Okay, I can see the appeal.
There are services like your man in India or Brickwork that facilitate this. It allows you to delegate those time-consuming, often lower-value tasks, freeing you up for the bigger picture, the strategic thinking.
So the aim isn't just to work less, but to work smarter on higher-value things and automate or outsource the rest, which leads to the idea of building a business, right? But one built around passion and, crucially, with automated processes.
Exactly. Ferriss himself created a product called Brain Quicken. That was a supplement for students and athletes. Why? Because he was one. He understood their needs. It came from a genuine interest.
In the automation part, how do you build that in?
There are different models. You could do private labeling, find a generic product, put your brand on it, have a third party handle manufacturing and shipping, or create information products like ebooks or online courses. You create them once, set up a system, and they can sell passively for years.
Ah, so the income isn't directly tied to your time anymore?
Precisely. Reselling products, licensing ideas, there are various paths. The key is designing the system so it runs largely without your constant active involvement. That ebook example is perfect. Write it once, sell it potentially thousands of times.
Okay, so you've confronted fear, eliminated the non-essential, maybe started outsourcing, and built some automated income. What if you're still in a traditional job? The book talks about negotiating more freedom there too, right?
Absolutely. It suggests a strategic approach.
Yeah.
There's an example, Sherwood, who first made himself incredibly valuable at his company.
Right.
Really indispensable.
Okay, step one, be really good at your job.
Right. Then he started strategically working remotely on supposed sick days. Not dishonestly, but to prove his output was just as high, maybe even higher, when he wasn't physically in the office.
Ah, demonstrating the value proposition of remote work.
Exactly. He built a case based on results. Then he used that evidence to incrementally negotiate for more remote days, eventually getting to full remote work.
So it's about leverage. Your competence, your reliability, those become your negotiating tools.
They're your most powerful tools. It connects back to the bigger picture. You leverage your proven value to gain choice, to design your work arrangement around the life you want, instead of fitting your life into the gaps left by work.
So when we pull this all together, what's the big takeaway for someone listening right now?
I think the core message is liberating. You don't have to sacrifice your life on the altar of a traditional job. Work can be, and maybe should be, a means to living a fulfilling life, not the sole purpose of life.
It's a blueprint, really, a way to shift from living for work to working to live.
Yes, and the path involves those key steps we talked about. Facing your fears, being ruthless about eliminating what doesn't matter, working smarter with tools like outsourcing, building income streams that aren't tied hour for hour to your effort, and then confidently negotiating for the freedom you've earned.
It sounds like a journey, definitely not an overnight switch.
Oh, absolutely. It starts with one step, one decision.
So maybe the question for everyone listening is, what's one small actionable change you can make today? Right now, something to start reclaiming a little bit of your time, a little bit of your freedom, and begin moving towards the life you actually desire. If you found this conversation insightful, give us a like and subscribe for more video.